I think that it's quite clear that there is a conflict in Western society at the moment with regard to equality. The question I would ask is, why is there a conflict between the sexes? Because it's quite clear that men have moved on significantly from the 1950s perception of what a woman should be and what her role in the world should be. I think that difference in understanding what equality really means is exemplified in a conversation that has become very well known online between Jordan Peterson and Kathy Newman, often referred to as the lobster interview. In that interview, they're discussing women achieving the top jobs in business. And Kathy Newman makes the statement, to paraphrase, why should women have to compete for the top jobs? Now, to a man, that's an incredible statement to make. Men, from a young age, compete with each other. And as adults, we compete for the top jobs. With the exception of outliers like nepotism, men are not given positions of power. They have to work for them. They have to earn them. Obviously, there are exceptions, but those exceptions prove the rule. So how would a woman get a top job without having to compete with men for it? And why would a woman subconsciously believe that top jobs should be given to them? Because that is the only implication from that statement. I believe that's the fundamental reason why there is still a conflict over equality. It's because there's a lack of understanding of what both genders mean, what both sexes mean by equality. We live in a time when we're encouraged to believe that men and women are identical, that any differences between them are social constructs. That is, of course, nonsensical. We are driven by instincts that are as old as the human race itself. I've talked before about the meaning of life. The meaning of life being life itself. In the family, the child is the focal point because the child represents immortality. Everything that we do, all our behaviors, are based on the child. Finding a mate, creating a child, raising the child. All our human behaviors are based on that. I think we need to understand the differences between men and women. Obviously, when men and women reach puberty, the differences between them become magnified. Men naturally assume the role of hunter and women of raising the child. Men and women essentially form a team, a very specialized team. In evolutionary terms, women that took risks did not survive in the evolutionary chain. Women that didn't take risks did. A pregnant woman, for example, would be taking a risk if she went out gathering or hunting for food. That would be a risky endeavor. She would be at a greater risk of losing the child. A woman that left the home and left the infant alone was also taking a huge risk. And if the child died, then she was removed from the evolutionary process. So, in evolutionary terms, women that stayed within their home during pregnancy and while raising the child were more likely to continue down the evolutionary path. Women obviously are more attuned to the child, more well equipped to raise the child. First, they give birth to the child, they can feed the child, but they're also emotionally attuned to the child. They're more sensitive, and they have to be more sensitive because they have to be sensitive to the child. They have to be sensitive to the child's needs. Specifically, does the child need food? Is the child cold? Now they have to be more sensitive to that because the child's survival depends on them and their sensitivity. But if a man is as sensitive as a woman, then he is less likely to leave the home and search for food. Now women have no need for weak men. They have no need for men who are not willing to take risks. If a woman is not going to take risks, she needs a man who is going to take risks. A man that did not take risks is not going to continue down the evolutionary path. He's not going to reproduce because, again, women have no use for weak men. And when you understand that, when you understand the difference between women not taking risks and men taking risks, then you begin to understand the modern world. The concept of hypoagency in women is requesting men to do things for them, to take risks, in other words, which they are not able to do. And again, this leads us into the present day. Women desiring men to do things for them. You can see that in certain feminist campaigns. For example, him for her, men to her. These are all campaigns centered on things men must do for women. So these are the behavioral traits of men and women. Women are less likely to take risks, and men are more likely to take risks.